Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Catherine, for the introduction, and thank you, Niels, for hosting this. Ingrid and Kamara for helping me coming here and asking me to do this. I'm very honored to be here, back in Iceland, and this is my first time in Harpa, which is an amazing house, I can tell already, and I'm really lucky to be here with all of you guys. Iceland is kind of holy ground for the music industry. So many good things have happened here, and being a very small community, it's done remarkably well in exporting music and getting out in the world. So I know a few people from Iceland that has been around the world and changed it and been spearheading the Nordic Project with music distribution. Just now I'm just waiting for something to turn up for this computer to play online there, but I'll keep talking. So there's especially two audience initiatives I would like to mention where also Iceland is deeply involved. One of them is the initiative called Nordic Playlist. You can find it online, and weekly the project is to have tastemakers from the Nordic addressing the audience with their new discoveries in music. So every week you can go and find totally new playlists from artists, industry people, people in the arts that really care about music and discover new music. Because this has been one of the features of Nordic music, discovering and new innovative music spheres coming out of it. So this is hosted by Anna Hildur. She was earlier the head of Iceland Music Export, and now the head of Nordic Music Export. Lives in and resides in London and works everywhere. I talked to her this morning. Then she was in Helsinki working from there. So that's an example on how music is working together Nordic-wise. And on this sector, it has meant a lot, because also from the outside, the world considers us Nordic. And that's something that we need to take advantage of and use. Another initiative is called the Ja 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 shows. It's in London for some years and now also started in Berlin. And it's been lots of Icelandic, Finnish, Danish, Norwegian and Swedish artists there during the years. It's also become a festival. So now it's been in Berlin for the first time, the festival, and it was totally sold out, I heard, 2 weeks ago. So we started the Nordic Project by working with, together with the different countries and making approaches towards the most dominating countries in the world within music. Should I try a bit? Sorry about the techniques things. Okay, looks right, doesn't it? Good. All right. Thank you also for the music. That was wonderful. That was really beautiful. A bit about me. I started out as a music artist and was signed to a small indie label, as you do. Worked a bit with poetry and music, and then I was signed to Polygram, now part of Universal, in the pop sphere in Norway. We traveled a bit around in the Nordics, mostly in Norway, of course. I was also part of starting Bylarm, which is the biggest meeting for music and music media in the Nordics. It used to be around in Norway, now it's in Oslo and more pulling in people from the Nordics and also people from the outside. So every Nordic country has contributed to getting invited people from all over the world that we think can be part of seeing the Nordic Project outside. It's been very exciting and it's been a very successful story. It's still just a pop-up organization, so it pops up and does its thing every year, and then all the people working there, they do other successful things outside the Bylarm Project. I was also part of this year starting something called Mash Up Norway, which is an initiative to accelerate small music and technology startups. It was started by WIMP, Norwegian digital music store, and Phonophile and Music Norway, and private persons. And it's just in this small start. I want to mention it because one of the things we do now is a challenge where we try to get technology people to develop an audience app for some cities in Norway. And that might be something that we will talk about next year's conference. What have been done in the technology of apps and audience. This is more of the broad music and cultural field app to let people know where we are and what's happening. Yes, with Phonophile I've been for 11 years. I was in Arts Pages before that, merging into Phonophile in 2009. So it was basically two very parallel companies, and we developed technology and music catalog on each side, and then we merged and became the biggest in the Nordic. I'll go quickly through some of the features for Phonophile. These are just the highlights. The click track in Sweden was really early with being a music store, and it was directly aimed to get artists to put out their music and be in direct contact with their audience. And that was something we really liked. So we took that in and developed the Facebook application where artists can do their boutique stores towards the audience. And that's one of the few initiatives in the business for doing that directly so early. Now it's the D2F, the direct to fans, is a word we use all the time. The latest thing we've been focusing on after building the technology and getting the things out there in the right formats is to get the labels and the artists, the producers of this music and the caretakers of this music, to actually start developing their skills in digital marketing and promotion. And that has been a big success. With still a lot of things to be done there. So I put it down here to just show you that that is the next step for us. And I think that's maybe pointing towards what the independent sector in music and culture otherwise is heading at. This is a bit about our environment where we work. So if you look carefully, you will see Phonophile in the middle there. And the model is we get the music from rights holders, be it a single standing artist that has a promotional setup around him or her, or it could be a big distribution company that wants to do digital distribution through us. So we deliver these music files and all the metadata to the digital stores like Spotify, iTunes, WIMP, Google, Beatport, and they present it for the audience. We get the money back and the reports for the marketing back, so we can know, is this something that works? Does it sell? Does our TV promotion work? Does our touring work? And then you can see by territory what is happening. And this is the first time in music, recorded music sales, that we actually can see really good transparency and down to territorial return on investment. So it's a challenge to the music industry to start thinking in those terms too. Also at the top layer here you can see the direct to fan, which we expect the artist and the label to work with. Also the promotion and media. And we try to help develop tools and make people aware of tools that exist out there to get that happening. And as far as we've come now, we've seen that this combination of efforts does make a huge difference. So I should say we have a big success with that. Okay, just quickly about the ownership of Phonophile. We're deeply involved in the independent field. So we're owned by Phono and Nopa, which is more than 1/3 of our ownership. And that means we're not getting bought up by, for instance, Warner or Sony or Universal without them agreeing to that. And that means that we can contributing to the digital world of independency for a long, long time in the future. It's been a huge asset for how we have been developing. This is just to show the organization. We have 13 employees and retainers all over the world. Few numbers. The number of tracks is 350,000. It's increasing all the time. So every time I update this presentation, it will be another number. Our revenue is expected to be approximately 9 million euros this year. So, how this is all started. When we started the companies, this was just out in the blue and we didn't have any idea what was going to happen with us. The only thing we believed was that the future would be digital and there would be a need for systems to actually see contracts, see rights, and also measure sales and display those sales. And the growth started in 2003 when iTunes launched its store and we got some few export sales in the US. And then iTunes exported to many countries and then we started seeing something really interesting, which was that indie music, small niche music, would sell all over the world. And some pop music would go through and sell lots in small territories, which is still a significant feature. So we saw when the MP3 was leading to file sharing and how that influenced our business with the piracy as a big issue. And also when streaming came around, we could see the actual effects on streaming, and together with governmental initiatives, we could see that streaming was a better solution than piracy for the user. It's a long history of how digital compression was made, and that's another session for talking about it, just put it out here. Also the formats of the industry has changed a lot since the years, and it's been usually affecting how the audience has interacted with music, especially let's say the cassette. When people start using the cassette, they also could produce their own music in small portable recording units. And of course, when the CD came, the digitization of music made people spread the music, first with the CD burner and then through the internet. This is the picture of the computer of Tim Berners-Lee when he made the internet. And the little note there says, don't turn this thing off. It means don't turn off the internet, actually. So, how did we get here? The latest IPI figures show a growth. This in Europe is the first time in 12 years we see a growth. And it doesn't make really sense to see the whole world under one if you go in to see the problematics and the issues that we have, because some countries like Germany would not be very much in the digital age of music sales yet, while Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland and Iceland will be very much in that sphere. So it's different kind of phases in different kind of countries. That's something we look really into when we try to approach a new territory with music sales. Japan is a very special situation. There, the CD is going down while the digital initiatives haven't really come that far yet. Even if it's a very technological country, it seems that music is not in the forefront there yet. So we expect a big turnover to happen there within the coming years. Okay, so Nordics, that's the most pleasant thing to talk about when we talk about digital music and distribution and consumption. We need to remember it's strong music countries we talk about. Also, when it comes to buying music. So we strong music buyers. We had a good tech infrastructure for years, and not least with the mobile phones, we also accept new technology really fast. And I will show you later a curve where the iPhone is introduced with Spotify. It makes a big, steep curve change in our revenue, actually. So small things like that can really affect the music business also. We're small countries, so to change our industry is not very difficult when you compare it to the US, the UK, the GSA industry. So we see now that also the major big companies in music, they use the Nordic as test markets. And it's nothing that has stopped yet, because there's new initiatives that really wouldn't be applied to bigger audiences yet, that but as we speak now, is tested out in the Nordics, and we think that's a great thing. This is a bit of the statistics behind what I'm talking about. Denmark, it's a leading country worldwide in digital sales, and it seems like they have a huge local repertoire. Also, Sweden has been in the forefront for years. That's most of the most advanced countries in the world. Also, Spotify came there, and you need to remember what was in Sweden before was just Pirate Bay. That was the way of consuming music. So there was almost non-music sales except for physics for a while. And then Spotify came around at the same time as the governmental initiatives for starting informing the consumer that it's not legal to do an illegal download that might get you in trouble. We don't believe so much in the pointing finger, but we believe in the information together with the possibility to actually buy. And you needed to have some product that was better than piracy. And streaming seemed to prove that. So now it's a very good story for Sweden, especially also because, not unlike Iceland, Sweden has been one of the most prominent countries in the world promoting music outside their own territory. Norway is considered one of the most advanced countries in the world when it comes to music buying, and not at least within streaming, which is the big lump of the growth in Norway the last years. In Norway, we have a small problem with the local repertoire sales. For Phonophile's case, we do lots of local repertoire, so we are doing lots of that. But we saw some figures from a major company, which was down to 12%. And that is also, for the Nordic sector, a reminder of how much intensively resources that are put into exporting music from the big territories to the smaller territories, also the Nordic territories. What is interesting in this file is to see the correlation between the CD downturn and the streaming growth. So Denmark is a very good example on what we will think is happening to the world in a few years for the most advanced markets. It will be different, of course, and there will be different solutions to how we see music consumption. But what we see is a tendency that we've seen repeating so far. As from the 5 last years, we see in the same tendencies, the same questions, the same audience questions and artist questions that was raised in Norway and Sweden and Denmark really early. Also, you can see the vinyl raising here, and you need to then consider the numbers that vinyl is still a very, very small market. However, vinyl is really popular as a gift and as an artifact. So people will bring it on tour, sell it to their audiences, also signing it and having limited numbers of vinyl. So that's something we also see with the digital world. You need something which also is in the limited world. In this file, you can see the million Danish kroner in revenue, and this is digital. So for Denmark, this is just a road to the right way for selling music to the audience. And remember, this is a fresh market for every one of us. So the ways we interact with the audience is not yet clear. We just started with new initiatives for doing Google marketing, advertising, Facebook advertising, and other online marketing this year in Denmark, and it's so far proven really well. So there's new steps to go all the time there. This is the digital marketing market share, and as you see, it's really high already. Sweden is the most interesting market to look at because it went from nothing, as I said, to the streaming market, and it's been working extremely well for Sweden. However, this year they've seen the first half of the year a slight drop, and they are wondering a bit if this is due to products or if it's due to audience orientation. But they think the prognosis they have is that it will be a growth in the total for 2014, also this year. Yes, Norway. in Norway we have the strongest buying of music. And today, actually I got this research from yesterday. It just came out, and it's been in 4 of the Nordic countries. It says that 8 of 10 in the Nordics use the internet to consume music. Spotify alone has 7 million users in the Nordic. 13.8 million people in the Nordic use the internet for streaming music and consuming. The 8 million out of this is purely streaming music. And this is a growing tendency. And Norway is in the front when it comes to buying music per capita, paying for music per capita. So what you see here is that digital has contributed to the turn of the downfall in music, which started in 2002, to the rise in music sales, which started in 2011. And before that, we had the downloads, we had everything, but it didn't take off before streaming became a mass market and mass audience instrument for selling music. So what we maybe lose out on now is the small music buyer that used to use up to, I know in Norway some numbers, 3,000 to 5,000 euros a month on music. Those big spenders of music, we don't have that yet. And that influences also what kind of music people will buy and what kind of music we will sell. We will get a bit more into that. This is seeing the percentage of digital in the market shares in Norway. So you see it's very high. Oh, and if you remember the first half year numbers, which I also displayed, that's 88%, so it's still growing very well. So we should think that everyone is happy here. And very many people are really happy. And we would be very lucky if this was the whole case. It isn't, however. Everything is pointing up. And still we see a lot of controversy. We see a lot of issues being raised. There are different interests, different layers, and the power is shifting all the time. So also the understanding of how the music field works now is challenged, because people need to perceive it in also their own spheres. Like a musician would see it differently than a publisher and a technologist. So we've seen discussions like digital killing music first, and it's been a lot of resignation, I would say, also in the Nordics, especially in the start. And we've seen that not only in the audience or in the art and producer sphere, but also in the industry. So some people have actually started giving up before they could see that streaming might do an influence. And we've seen small companies running past big companies because they understood and grabbed the digital possibilities. So one of the big misunderstandings was that when digital music was introduced, it killed the physical sales. But as you can see here, this is world figures. As you see here, the CD and LP sales was already declining before the small start of the digital sales. This is a picture we also see in the Nordic. This is the Norway music market, where you can see that the decline in the music sales. This is total sales, and the red is the digital sales. So the total sales started going down from the heydays in 2002 to where digital started increasing the sales in 2006, but not much until 2009. And the rest of the story you've seen. The streaming was introduced in 2009, 2010, and that has been the big growing contributor. This is just an example also from the Netherlands in 2012, where they saw the introduction of streaming services killing piracy, and it was a very clear tendency also in Sweden, where you had lots of piracy. In Norway, we were fearing streaming technology because we had quite a good start for the download sales, and we were thinking that this will cannibalize not only physical sales, but also the sales of digital downloads. And very many rights holders, they refused to go into the streaming sphere and was sitting very long waiting for it to happen. And then when it happened, most of them have jumped on and are now trying to do something in streaming. So this is the Phonophile, the company I work for, numbers for download and streaming sales. And you see the turning point is here in March into 2011. March 2011, we could see that a former small contributor, which was streaming, we saw that when the iPhone was introduced in 2010, you could see the steeper hill there. That was when it really started growing higher and higher. So we see that continuously. So why is someone really worried about streaming still? This is actual numbers from Spotify July 2013. And it's just anonymized, so you can see by genre. A niche indie album would be bought more, to a larger extent, by the super users of music, which I talked about earlier. They would buy these kinds of album. Now, when this is just a mass market, much more, you've seen that the global hit album is the ones really doing well for themselves, and always, of course, the top 10s, which is contributing to their own sales by being on the top 10. So this is clearly indicating that the audience has taken over and is running the music sales in a way. And there's new initiatives to try to get the super user of music back, like Deezer's new initiative and Wimp's new initiative, where they double the price and they make a better capacity in streaming quality. So they would say, are you a super user? Here's your special offer, which can give you a separation effect from all the others. You can play it on your big, super expensive hi-fi equipment, and you will see the difference. This has been very well received. However, we don't think that it will address the main audience yet. So there's plenty of things to still research and do better from the music side there. Also, there's a challenge for the small labels there, because as you see here, the blue sales is the download sales, while the green sales is the streaming sales. This is one of the biggest bands in the Nordics. They released a single just out of their pocket through us. Usually they have a big major company and planning releases for 1 year. This was during a Christmas, and the band sat down and said, let's do something for Christmas. And they put out this single, and it went really well, both in downloads and streaming sales. But as you can see, the download sales, it stops very quickly, and the streaming sales, it needs to be continued to go on. So the big jump you see in the green sales there is the TV exposure that the band got, and then they can keep that alive, which means that the small companies, they have a challenge in how they will get the names of the releases and their artists to live for a longer time. They don't have catalog to rely on in very much extent, so they would like to promote a release and then get the money back. However, they need to wait for maybe 3 years to get their money back. Third big challenge is the power changing here. So in music, we've seen lots of power distributed to the major companies, which is now only 3 of them, the Sony, the Universal, the Warner, which used to be 5 not many years ago. So we see a concentration of power. Also, we see the technologies leaders being into music, and that's a big challenge for music as a whole. Especially the telcos are earning lots of money on the cultural content, as we know. One of the initiatives we are part of here is Merlin, non-profit negotiation partner for indie labels, and we are part of contributing to Merlin's growth in the Nordics and also in the world. It does all the negotiations towards Spotify or a new Google service. So that means that the small indie labels can have representatives doing the powerful negotiations there. One of the other challenges is properly and very interestingly put a light on by the University of Oslo. They have an initiative called Klausen Concerts, which is led by Anne Danielsen and Arnt Mose. They've been doing performing on the research on the audiences of live music and the digital music services. So, very quickly, this is the findings they presented, and they approached a user-centric model So, to be very quick, I just have a few minutes left. To be very quick, what I see with a user-centric model, instead of everyone paying into a pro rata share where all the payments of music goes into one pot and spread towards all the music, so the big global hits will get the most. They turned it upside down and said, what about if your music, the music you listen to, is directly contributed by the money you pay in for this month? And this is a total new approach in the streaming industry, and it's not been put into life yet. But they used anonymized numbers from WIMP to do a bit of a research, and what they find, the most significant finding there is that 13% growth in the local market. And we think that this, plus the strengthening of the fan and artist relation, is the most interesting aspect of this research. And of course there needs to be much more research onto this, but we believe the model can be adopted in the future also for the big streaming services. So this is other kinds of the artists. I put the link in here so you will be able to get into and look into this research project and what they also found if you want to follow the continuous research they do. They also did very good research on the audiences side, and the most significant for me was to see that when people go to festivals, they also start checking the program and streaming lots more of that music programmed on festivals. So there's a deep connection between the live audience experience and the online audience experience of music. This is you can see there's a typo in the address, but it's actually the address. So I was just mentioning about the music artists. They are a bit reluctant to see how is my money coming back from streaming. And this is from the film of Nive table. Dave Grohl sitting there, and he made a film about this fantastic production mixing table that Rupert Nive, one of the big men in music technology, made. And I need to stop now, so I'll just stop by saying that this is the challenges we think will exist in the music, and maybe also for the whole field of arts and audiences in the future. The participation in music is low, and we think that we will see not only karaoke, we will see producers everywhere and in the people's bedrooms making music going out in the world to a much more extent than we see now. And I don't know in all the world you represent, but I think that's a huge challenge for the future. Thank you.